Welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Hamill, and this season is all about words to live by. So we're talking about words that we need to either implement or remove from our lives because words are mighty and powerful and they matter. So let's get into it. Today's word that I'm going to talk to you about is something that I'm personally extremely passionate about because I find this word to be one that either keeps people focused and on course or knocks them off course because they don't know it. And the word is identity. Identity. So let me just talk to you about what our identity is and why it matters. There's so many things when somebody says, "Who are you?" how we answer that. Somebody says to me, "Who are you?" I could say, "I'm a podcaster." If somebody said, "Who are you?" I could say, "I'm a husband. I'm a father." We put our jobs in there. "Oh, I work in this vocation or this job. I'm this type of person," that sort of thing. And there's all these labels that get put on us. And I like doing assessments and personality assessments and leadership assessments. And so if you're into like the Enneagram, I'm an 8. If you are into Strength Finders, I'm an achiever, responsibility, communication, right? I have my top 5 strengths. And it's if you're on the DISC test, right? Where are you at there? If you're Myers-Briggs, right? There's all these things. And so what we end up doing is we don't typically choose our identity. We look to those things to tell us who we are, or we look to others. And one of the things that I have found when it comes to like codependence on relationships is that we look to our significant other, we look to our spouse, our partner to tell us who we are. And sometimes, in my extensive work with young people, teenagers, that sort of thing, they're hitting an age where they've always looked to their parents to tell them who they are, and now they're getting that freedom to where their parents aren't able to tell them who they are, and they flounder and they don't know what to do with their life or who they are or what they're supposed to do because someone else or something else has always been telling them who they are. So, as with every show this season, as we are in season 5, I've looked it up. Here's what Webster says is the definition of identity. It's the distinguishing character or personality of an individual. The distinguishing character or personality of an individual. And then the second definition they give is the relation established by psychological identification, right? The relation established by psychological identification. So who are you? What's your identity? Some of you have heard pieces of this story before, but I think it bears repeating again because this is a passion that I have in my life. Some time ago, a number of years ago, actually, I was on an airplane. I was flying into Dayton, Ohio to conduct my grandmother's, my mother's mother, funeral service and memorial service. And while I was on this plane, I got very introspective about my life because at that point I was just a few months away from hitting 40. I was coming into a place where I was again conducting my grandmother's memorial service. So I was thinking, oh, I'm hitting a new season of my life. I'm celebrating the end of one of my legacies. I guess I'm her legacy of my grandmother's life, and as a part of writing this memorial service, we were putting together what my grandmother's identity was to us. And so we all kind of shared our favorite memory. Mine was my grandmother made the single greatest, and I will fight you on this, homemade cherry pie. I mean, it was literally baked in heaven. And it was amazing. And some of you know this, that I went on a health journey. I'm still on that health journey, contending for that. Lost 80 pounds. I would break whatever diet or health plan I would be on to have a slice of my grandmother's homemade cherry pie. Incredible, ridiculously incredible. So that was one of my memories of her. The other one was she came to visit us in California. She lived in Ohio. We lived in California at this point, and she came outside. I was up on the roof, and actually was just getting some things down on the roof that were accidentally being up there. She didn't know that. She thought I was just goofing around on the roof, and she just said at me very sternly, in a way that I refused to rebel against, "Young man, get down off that roof or I will whip your butt," right? That was what she said. And she said it in a way that only a grandmother could, and I loved her for it, right? That sort of thing. That was the identity that grandmother, Grandma Trinka, she makes the best food, but she will whoop you. And you didn't mess around with her. Didn't matter if she was old already. And I probably had more strength and energy than her at the time, but nonetheless, I was still very afraid of this very powerful woman. And I say that totally in admiration and love. I adored my grandmother, and I was honored to do her memorial service. But it got me thinking about identity and what do I want to be known for, by, and as. And I realized at that point that I had to make a decision. I had to make a choice, that I was either going to let others, other things, other situations, other circumstances, other assessments define my identity, or I was going to have to take personal responsibility and have an intentional identity. So let me just start off by saying who I am. I am Tom Hamill. That is me. That's my identity. Everything else is who I choose to be, right? That is who, and so I have mapped out, it's on my phone. I don't have it in front of me right now if you're watching on YouTube, because they're using it to take pictures and B-roll and other fancy technology stuff. If you're listening on one of the podcast platforms, you don't care anyways, but here we are. On my phone, on my electronic notepad, I wrote out, literally in a matter of less than 20 minutes, here is my intentional identity. This is what I want to be known for, by, and as. And not just that, but this is the person, this is the man that I am to become. Because I realized my identity is constantly evolving. Because I'm growing, maturing, changing. My tastes, my likes, my interests are evolving as well. And so the things that I'm known for, by, and as has to grow. And so I decided, rather than having an accidental identity, or one that I fall into, I'm going to have a personal, intentional identity. And so what does that do for me by mapping out this identity? It helps me frame and formulate my investment into every single relationship. So when I'm talking to my daughters, I'm constantly thinking, because I've mapped it out, written it out, and being intentional about growing into this person. I'm saying, this is what I want to, this is my identity with my kids. This is what I want my daughters to know me as, so that when they remember me, this is the legacy I'm building into them. So I am this to them, and not just father, but champion. I don't want to just be their hero. I want to be their hero maker. I want to make them the hero. And so I'm intentionally investing, marking my words, measuring my words into their life, into my nephews and my nieces. How am I speaking life into them, and letting them know I'm proud of them, and seeing giftings and possibilities into them, right? Into my siblings, into my sibling-in-laws. We have a group of us that we jokingly say, we're not the in-laws, we're the outlaws, right? That sort of thing. And so, but how am I speaking life into them? Because this is my identity to those people. And rather than letting them formulate that identity based off of their perception, I'm intentionally leaning into who I want to be in their life. And it started with me mapping out my identity, because again, Webster says it's the distinguished character or personality of an individual. Available today, my book, The Life You're Meant to Lead. It's finally here. It's finally available. You can get it from Amazon. You can get it from our website, ourcultivatedlives.com. We got it in the tree version. We got it in the e-version. We got it in the audio version, where I read the book by the author, The Life You're Meant to Lead, a powerful tool. Pick up your copy today. I can let them decide or define that, or I can choose to decide or define that. And I have taken the path in my identity that I'm going to choose to write out my distinguished character, who I'm going to become. Now, let me just tell you this. My plan that I wrote out was for the next 20 years. So who do I want to be by the time I'm 60? And I'm on that journey, and I'm on that path, and I'm choosing the books that I read by who I want to become. I'm choosing the exercise routine that I do by who I want to become. I'm choosing the relationships I invest in by who I want to become. I'm choosing the tools and the giftings that I'm developing in my life by who I want to become. So nothing about my life is accidental. Now, I will say this. There still is the mystery, the things that I don't know, that I'm anticipating of discovering either about myself or within myself that I'm constantly looking for. So not 100% of my life is scripted, and the outcomes aren't scripted, but the investments are. So Mark Batterson talks about this in his book, Circle Maker, that we need to focus more on the inputs than the outcomes. And so by mapping out my intentional identity, I'm saying this is what I'm going to input into my life. And in fact, this podcast, the Cultivation Podcast, this really is the foundational behind-the-scenes motivation that I believe other people in this world want to have an intentional identity. And we have chosen to build and produce and make available this podcast and our other resources that are on our website, ourcultivatedlives.com, the book, The Life You're Meant to Lead, right? All of these things come from this core value of, I think you want to have an intentional identity. I believe you're searching for the inputs you want and need and desire to put into your life so that you can become the person you really desire to become. So we're trying to produce quality, valuable inputs for you to invest in your life. And if you find them valuable, we would love to hear from you. If you don't find them valuable, we would love to hear from you, because even whatever input you have, we find valuable. Your feedback is so important. So put it in the comments, put it in the chats. We read those, we respond to those, and they really speak and give direction to everything that we're doing as we're trying to intentionally identify what the Cultivation Podcast is all about as that distinguished character personality. So here's the areas that I wrote down in my intentional identity. I wrote down what I want in my family, right? That first and foremost, I want to be a safe place to dream. You're going to hear that word in this season as we talk about words, right? To dream and to fail. I find failure so important in our lives that in my mind and the way I'm choosing to define failure or failing, it is not a negative, that it's actually a lesson. It's actually a teacher. Failure is our greatest teacher if we will allow it, and we won't be demolished or defeated by it. Failure does not mean defeat. It actually means I have an opportunity to learn. And so what I've determined is Uncle Tom, Daddy Tom, Brother Tom, Friend Tom, that in my friends, in my family, in my circle, that I want to be a safe place to ignite dreaming and to fail, to take those risks, right? And so I want to cultivate that in all of those people's lives around me. And so I'm constantly evaluating and measuring and looking into people's lives so that I can give them a glimpse or speak a word into them that would cause them to dream and take risks in that. And it would be okay if they fail, because they are not a failure if a risk they take fails, right? That sort of thing, super important. The other thing I wrote down about family is that I want to be known more for the experience than the stuff. And let me just tell you where this stems from, right? So at holidays and birthdays, obviously that is a great time to where we do gift exchanging, right? And I jokingly say this, I love both getting and receiving gifts. It's a play on words. I love both getting and receiving gifts, because who doesn't like a gift, right? But I've understood that stuff doesn't add more value to our life. But experiences together, those memories, those moments, just like I shared about my grandmother, and I have a million other ones. I just picked two to share with you today. But I want in our family, in my family, I want it to be like, whoa, we experience some incredible stuff. And so we do ridiculous things. We do Tesla. That's a car company here in the United States. Actually, I think it's all over the world, but whatever. We do Tesla car test drives, and we just do crazy things together because it's about this experience that we would have together, right? And so I just wrote that down. I wrote it down for my health. So I have 4 key areas: family, health, finances, and I want to be a coach or a mentor. So we talked about family. In my health, I want to be around for future generations, right? And so I'm trying to take care of and monitor and be very strategic about my health. Not that I want to be a health guru. I'm not a food Nazi. I hear that term a lot, whatever that means. All that kind of stuff. I still have fun. I still have choices. I still do those things, but I'm following a strategic health plan and program for the purpose of I want to be around. I want there to be longevity in my life to be around for future generations. I also want the energy and the stamina to be able to give and serve more people. I don't want to be tired all the time, so I can't give you my target audience my very best. And so I want to be around for future generations. I want to give my best. And ultimately, what I want to do with my body is honor God. I want to be able to say yes to whatever purpose and destiny God puts in front of me or awakens me or opens a door for. And I don't want my physical body to be a limiting factor in what I can say yes to. When it comes to my finances, the first thing I wrote down about my finances, and this is what I want to be known for, and as I want to be ridiculously generous. I want to be ridiculously generous. I want to be stupid generous, which means I need to build a series of incomes and a certain amount of wealth so that I can give that away. And just because I want to leave a legacy for my family, for my girls, for this world, there's a lot of things that we can help make a difference, diseases we can eradicate, clean drinking water, that every child has a proper education. There's just so many things. And some of the projects that we're a part of with like Team World Vision, tons of different things that we're doing is all about how can we be ridiculously generous. Now, to do that is the next phase of that financial goal is that I want to have multiple streams of income. And ultimately, this is what I wrote about in the book, The Life You're Meant to Lead, that I want money to work for me rather than me working for money. And that will allow me to be generous because I want to put my money to work for me. So I'm working towards that. I'm trying to learn every day. I've got books and teachers and seminars because I'm just like, okay, how do I master this area of my life? I listened to one author. She co-authored the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Sharon. She's got this whole curriculum teaching thing, assets are sexy. It's teaching ladies about finances, but I just thought that was a really cool phrase, maybe because I like the word sexy. But nonetheless, so we talked about family, talked about health, talked about finances, those areas of our life or of my life that I'm intentionally. And then when it comes to, I want to be a mentor, a coach, a voice that speaks into people's lives. So how are we doing that? We're doing the podcast. We've done the book, the video teaching curriculum that you can sign up to and subscribe to, that is now being built and being made available. You can check that out on our website, Our Cultivated Lives. The leadership, the self-leadership excursions where we're planning the trip. And again, you can find this on our website to Antarctica right now. And we're working on where the next trip will be, where we're going on an adventure to discover the identity that we're meant to. And so I want to do that through mentoring, coaching, teaching, and training. And so that is who I am, this identity, this distinguishing character or personality. You don't have to fall into it. You don't have to stumble into it. And you don't have to let other people describe or define that for you. You can have an intentional identity. My challenge to you is this. I did mine for 20 years. Just because it seemed great, 40 to 60, that's what I want to do. You might need to do a 5-year. You might need to do a 3-year. You might be at a spot where you say, in 1 year, this is the transformation that I want to take on and the identity that I want to have. You hear me talk about this often. Some of this might even sound like a repeat, and you've heard me say it before, but I'm super passionate about this because I want to cultivate and awaken the identity that is in you. I want to resource the identity and have input, or rather create your inputs for the identity and the person that you want to become. That is the cultivation journey, and that is what the Cultivation Podcast is all about. Hey, if you like this episode, if you're passionate about this, if this fires you up and excites you, I'd love for you to hit the like button. I'd love for you to put those comments in the thread, whether it's on YouTube, social media, at Tom Hamill, any of those. You can find us there. We'd love to hear your story. Also would love for you and ask you to hit the share button. And also, stop by our website. You can pick up the book. Buy that right now. We would love to get that into as many people's hands as possible. Go to ourcultivatedlives.com. It's got all the links of where you can buy that. You can purchase the physical book. You can purchase the ebook if you're on Kindle or some kind of a tablet device, or you can get the audio book where I read it to you if you want to hear more of my voice, that sort of thing. But we have all of them available. Click the link. Buy that resource now. It's incredible. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, Tom Hamill, and this has been the Cultivation Podcast. Thanks for checking us out today. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the incredible content we have coming out. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comments section. We read those, we respond to those as we journey together in the cultivated life.